You don't need I'm doing this my way.
He a legend, he a legend, he a legend. He a legend, he a legend, he a legend. He a legend. Welcome to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league of items. Welcome to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league of items.
What's up, everybody? It's Pikel with League of Items, and I got a haircut. But yesterday, we did not have a great day with the results. So we had LGD as an upset special over Rare Atom. They lost 2-1. I think obviously the 1.5 maps was probably the better play than outright. Weibo Gaming beat Ultra Prime 2-0. EDG beat FPX 2-0. That was a spot where I wanted to bet FPX at like plus 1.5 maps or just try to get them as the underdogs, but I'm glad I didn't bet it. Then we had T1 against KT Rolster. KT Rolster is a team that I think will be competitive with the upper echelon teams. I'd be interested to see what their line looks like against Damwon later on this week in like 2 days, I guess. And then Gen G took care of business against Sandbox. And then in the LEC, and we'll go more in depth into some of these games. Fnatic against Astralis. Astralis won. Misfits against XL. I had XL. They had this was their first loss, which is somewhat expected. I know that it's kind of a meme where people just joke about it, how XL never can really get the job done and make it in the playoffs. And it seemed so much worse that they lost this game because the following game, Vitality was losing to BDS, should have lost that game to BDS, but they managed to make a comeback and got the win there. Then G2 Esports lost to SK Gaming, so everybody can lose to everybody right now, which is not that shocking. I'm not going to pick a team like SK Gaming against G2, but you know, we can look at the pick ban later. And then Rogue beat up on the Sad Lions. So right now it looks like the Sad Lions and XL, it looks like, well, Vitality and Excel are tied for 5th. Sad Lions are in 7th, which is, yeah, 7th. So we'll take a closer look at that next. Let's get the scoreboards. So the scoreboards in China. Let's see. LGD, I think, was actually the better side for DraftKings, even though they lost this series. So we had a Kennen game, Jinx and Aphelios getting traded, Tank supports, Oriana. The Aphelios got banned out, and there was, a Vayne game. This looks like, this has throw written all over it. I would need to watch this game, but obviously 29-22. They have a slight goal deficit, which means that they were probably winning, and then Rare Atom got an ace around an objective and ended the game. So that's interesting. The Vayne is interesting. I really do think that blue side banning out one of the hyper carries is really like a good strategy, which we've kind of seen a decent amount. Again, we have Jinx against Aphelios, Jinx against Aphelios, Jinx against Aphelios, Jinx against Aphelios. And I really do think it's the right way to draft. So I can't really blame them for doing that. Weibo Gaming against Ultra Prime, not particularly close. I do like Elk a lot still, but that's a tough matchup for them. And then kind of the same thing here. We get a Malphite game out of Flandre. Hecarim is getting pretty popular again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, a lot of Hecarim. And that's generally what you see in this kind of meta. This is more like spring of last year, I guess. Decent amount of Akalis come out. Corki Jinx is pretty popular. That's just like a ranged thing. So that's it for that. Let's go to week 5. Get some more scoreboards from the LCK. Week 5. 076. Okay, so this is another one. T1 must have made a huge comeback in this game. Oh my god. 4-1-12. Damn, that's sad. That's kind of surprising that they were able to win this game, considering these kill scores and everything like that. What happened? Actually, I think I watched the... I'd have to watch that again. I don't really remember. I could have swore I watched the highlights for that, and I didn't remember it going that way. KT against T1 in the second game. Gumayusi with a good Aphelios game. So Aphelios wasn't banned in the first game. That's interesting. I feel like if you don't do that, you're kind of just asking to play the game on hard mode. Ruler on Zeri. That's interesting. So this is probably like, you know, first pick. Maybe they first pick Zeri. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. In my opinion. They're going for the faster side of things. So they're trying to accelerate the game by playing around mid game, having a little bit more of a power spike with Zeri before Aphelios gets online. Kind of the same thing with Jhin against Jinx. I hate Jhin. I hate picking against... I hate playing against Aphelios and Jinx. So I'd rather have that kind of stuff going on. If this is this kind of meta where it's like Diana, Lee Sin, Rek'Sai, Hecarim, Xin Zhao, like this is going to be an amazing time for Peanut. So I hope that this is this kind of meta. And that also means really good things for Kanavi and a lot of other junglers who we always considered to be very, very good junglers before the farming meta. So that'll be something to watch out for. Everyone doesn't necessarily agree on which champions are the strongest, so some teams might play it differently, but if they're viable, at least in some regions, you would expect that the players will see that and want to play it in their games as well. Then week 6, day 1. Week 6, day 1. Okay, so we had Aphelios against Jinx. The thing with Aphelios is that a lot of the time he gets outranged. So I want to see, yeah, because you're getting Jinx. Graves against Aphelios is pretty good. Jace against Aphelios is pretty good. Corki against Aphelios is pretty good. Let's just start in the Fnatic game. So it was funny. I was actually talking to the Yale players about Gnar. The thing with a champion like Gnar, especially against someone like Jace, is you're going to lose the early game, and then your engage late game is conditional. So theoretically, you have engage with Xin Zhao, which is fine. Theoretically, you have engage with Rakan, that's fine. With Gnar, you can also engage fights, but you need to be able to manage your rage, and it's not even the like a skill as much. I'm not even saying that it's like difficult to do as a top laner. Sometimes it's impossible to do, and that's why it's such a problem if you're depending on someone like Gnar to engage a late game team fight. So like having a champion that's easier to engage with is just preferable in my opinion. Like even something like Camille. So we had Zanzara on another Jarvan game. Dajor on Vex is kind of interesting. There were a couple Gallios, I think, around the world. Game 2, Misfits against XL. This was a spot. I was actually saying this in Discord. Let me just get the message. It was like somebody was saying, you know, is this a Misfits trap spot? And I was like, no, I actually think it's an XL trap spot because I didn't really. Everybody was like, you know, it's time to play XL. And I did lean XL, and I like that's the side that I kind of preferred. So it says, BLG will win Worlds from Discord said this is a trap spot to play Misfits, right? And then TL will win Worlds, parentheses, BLG stinks. XL is the better team, so I would say so. And then they go back and forth saying, like, are they though? I think so, yes. And then I said, it feels like an XL trap, to be honest, but I'm on XL. I wasn't going to change my mind at that point. That's really just the side that I was destined to be on. So that that outcome was always going to get me. Graves against Tryndamere. I honestly don't like. I don't like there being a Graves on the team that I bet on or a Tryndamere. It's just not the way that I like my teams to draft. Leeson and Jarvan are both fine. Jarvan seems more and more lackluster as time goes on. Vetio against Nuke Duck. Rise and LeBlanc. That's fine. It's like a classical matchup. The Jinx Aphelios should be in. It should be in every single game, unless you're the blue side and you want to ban out one of them and then first pick the other one. Like, I really think that's the best way to play League of Legends right now. That's the optimal draft strategy from blue side. Everybody who deviates from that is just asking, like, to play the game on hard mode, I think. Then we have BDS against Vitality. I would definitely suggest watching this game. BDS definitely should have won. They just kind of got outplayed as time went on. G2 against SK. I didn't get to see much of this game. Victor, another champion I just don't like. Gwen's a very good champion, so it's kind of surprising when she loses. And then Rogue against Mad. I'm all wrong, Larson. Happy to see a Jin lose. So that's basically it for the LEC. So let's go to tomorrow. So tomorrow we have 3 matches in the LPL as per usual. First up, we have OMG against World Elite. Obviously, I'm a big World Elite fan. I'm a big OMG fan. I'm a big Beishang fan. Shanji against Bubu. I think Bubu is probably the better player. Aki against Beishang. I know that Beishang is the better player. Cream against Shanks. I would say that Cream is the better player. And then Abel and Cold against Xing and Kadaya. I don't really have a strong opinion either way in this spot. I think that it's probably more likely that Abel and Cold are the better side. But the fact that Xing has looked bad is going to make people want to play him less. So I want to play them more. And the reason for that is because I think that now that Beishang is back, it just changes everything for their team. So I think that World Elite, their line is plus 216 is the last number that I saw. I feel like that's a good bet. I feel like they're a good DraftKings play because this should be a bloody matchup. You probably want exposure to both sides. Then in Game 2, we have BLG against Anyone's Legends. I get Anyone's Legends wrong every single time that they play, so you might want to go see other people's opinions on that one. I'm just going to play BLG and deal with it. Breathe against ZDZ. I prefer Breathe. Wei Wei against Xiaohao. Same thing. Fofo against Forge. Oh, Forge is back. Same thing. And then Doggo and Crisp against Betty and Chow Chow. I prefer Doggo and Crisp. A lot of people were killing Doggo about his performance in their last match. It's one game. He had one bad game, and then Uzi came in, got lucky in Game 2, and then they lost Game 3. So I don't really know what people expect. It's like the 80 carry is not going to make that much of a difference. Like if you swapped out Uzi and Doggo, I don't think the results change very often. Like in some fringe cases, maybe, but for the most part, it's not going to change anything. And I know that puts me in the minority because a lot of people think Uzi is better than I do. But that's it. BLG is a minus 526 favorite. I'm not betting that, but that's the right side, I think. And then in the last game in the LPL, we have Top Esports against JDG. This should be another explosive matchup. I think that I will probably just play JDG, completely fade Top Esports. This is the spot where I think Kanavi is just going to completely out-jungle Tian. 369 is better than Wayward. Knight is better than Yagao, but during the COVID year, we saw Yagao go toe-to-toe with Knight, especially in certain kinds of drafts where they would play things like Zoe. I think that the types of champions we're going to see in the mid lane, it's often going to turn into like Knight playing Victor or something like that, which is completely horrible. He should never do it, but they still make him do it sometimes. We should really be expecting him on like much higher skill cap champions, like Akali. Like if JDG is lazy with their draft and gives Top Esports an angle to play Akali, like they're going to punish them for it. And then we have Jackie Love and Mark against Hope and Missing. I think it's pretty close. Jackie Love is probably a better player long term from like a talent perspective. but that's fine. I think that the top half of the map, specifically top jungle, is very heavily JDG favored, meaning 369 will most likely get a beneficial matchup in top lane against Wayward. Kanavi can apply pressure there for a little while, but is going to have free reign in like middle and bot lane because he's just a better player. So unless they get completely destroyed in the draft, then I think they're going to win. And I'm not even sure how Top Esports would completely destroy them in the draft. This theoretically could be a meta that Tion plays like all of the good champions at a very high level, but I don't know. I just don't think that Tion is as good as Kanavi. So I'm willing to go I'm not going to be all in on JDG. I'm probably going to play 6 lineups tomorrow in the $44 contest. And I'll definitely have exposure to JDG. I will most likely fade Top Esports. Then in Korea, we have DRX against Homolife. And this is where things start to get scary for me. I don't like betting on DRX as a favorite at minus 303. I'm not touching that. Homolife is a team that I don't have a good feel for. A lot of the bad teams in Korea, it's just there's not... well, no, I shouldn't say bad. The teams who are not the top Korean teams that play in Korea are tough to get a read on because when they play each other, it's kind of boring. And when they play the top teams, they get slapped. So I just don't enjoy watching them. I don't have strong feelings on most of these players. But DRX should be able to win, especially if Homolife is one of the teams that opts into the trades for Aphelios Jinx. So let's take a look at that, actually. That's the only reason I would bet on DRX. So they banned Aphelios. They didn't even want to do it. And then they banned Aphelios again. So they always ban Aphelios on red. Well, they used to ban Aphelios on red side. Let's see. Man, do they just not... They just don't play... They don't play Jinx and Aphelios. That is insane. Okay, I'm completely fine playing DRX against Homolife. That's wild. And then the second match is Kwangdong Freaks against Fredit Brion. And like I've said this a couple times, Fredit Brion is another team that I just don't seem to have a good read on. I think that Kwangdong Freaks are definitely the more talented team. Keen against Morgan, I think it's somewhat close, which is probably against the common perception that Keen is much better than Morgan. Against Elim, I don't really care. I think Elim is maybe a little better, but not by much. Fate against Lava, I do prefer Fate in that spot. And then Henna and Delight against Teddy and Hoyt. I prefer the Teddy side. But I don't really feel strongly either way. But like I said yesterday when I was talking to Alan, in these minus 150 matches, like between minus 175 and plus 175, it's just about picking the side that you think is a better team because you're not getting enough value to always be able to justify playing a dog. Like once you're in like the plus in like the 200s, maybe you start feeling okay, well, the dog shouldn't be a plus 200 dog, and then you can convince yourself. But in the high 100s, it's pretty tough in my opinion. Let's talk about the LEC for tomorrow. So I did go through some of those picks yesterday. We can talk about that a little more now. So XL against Astralis. XL just lost to Misfits. I think they get a comeback win here against Astralis, especially after Astralis beats Fnatic. So you might want to take a look at that. I would bet them outright, and I would probably use XL on DraftKings. I don't know what their ownership would look like. Then we have BDS against SK Gaming. SK Gaming just won, so now they're probably the favorites, I would assume. Mad Lions against Misfits. Misfits coming off of their win over XL. Mad Lions losing to Rogue. I don't want to change my pick. I had Misfits yesterday. I still want to have Misfits. Vitality against Rogue. Vitality with a sloppy win. Rogue with a pretty commanding win. I'm not changing that one. And then G2 with a big loss against Fnatic with a big loss. I still prefer G2, I think, in that spot. So let's talk about those matchups. Just gotta get the rosters. So XL against Astralis. I'm not changing my opinion on that one. That's how I would go. BDS against SK Gaming. Yeah, I'm fine with SK there. But you're not going to want to bet that probably. Mad Lions against Misfits. So Armut against Hyrit. I'm fine with both sides. I'd probably slightly prefer Hyrit based off of recent performance. And I think they have similar ceilings. Elyoya against Schlatan. I prefer Elyoya as a player, but I don't think it's a... I do prefer Elyoya. Reeker against Vetio. I prefer Vetio over Reeker, but again, it's not a ton. I think that this could be a spot where if the line flips, then I would be interested in Mad Lions. Unforgiven and Kaiser against Neon and Mursa. Somebody was asking if Neon was like or was it someone saying, is Neon the best AD carry in the West? Like, relax. Mad. If Mad loses this game, are they basically... Well, they're not dead. They have 5 more games. But it starts getting much more difficult, especially if XL beats Astralis. The Vitality Rogue game is gigantic. Alright, so that's that. I'm fine with... I want to be on whoever the underdog is in that spot. Rogue Vitality. Alfari against Sotoamne. I prefer Alfari. Self-made against Malrong. I think that Malrong is the more steady player, more consistent player. Self-made is more volatile. I do kind of prefer the self-made side here from a champion's perspective. I know that it might not play itself out in the draft that way, which would give the benefit to Malrong. Larson against Perks. Again, Larson's more consistent. Perks has higher upside in my mind. Karzi and Labrov, they didn't look good today. They look like I mean, it's not really their fault specifically, but their team was getting dove in the bot lane consistently, which means that their ward coverage probably wasn't that great. They had the losing side of the lane matchup. We're getting shoved in. I think it was Jinx against Xayah. And that just was, it was lethality Xayah. I know Gelati was complaining about that on Twitter, and I understand his frustration. But yeah, I think that my long-term view of these teams, I have to be on Vitality here. I think you understand that. Fnatic against G2. Fnatic and G2. Wonder against Broken Blade. I think Broken Blade is more likely to play the aggressive side of the matchup. Razork against Jankos. This meta should be fine for Jankos. Like the less if there are less opportunities for the opponent jungler to just farm and outscale Jankos, the better Jankos' team is going to be. Caps and Humanoid. I think Caps is much better than Humanoid. I would expect them to ban out the TF, make Humanoid play anything else, and that should be a good spot for G2. Flocket and Targamas against Upset and Hillsong. I definitely prefer Upset and Hillsong. But I do like the champions that Flocket and Targamas are willing to pull out. Like, they have some fringe picks that are actually pretty good. So I'm on G2. I want G2 to win that match. So maybe I'm biased. And then last but not least, let's go to the LCS. So in the LCS, we have 100 Thieves against Golden Guardians. I'm not picking Golden Guardians. TSM against Immortals. Oh, I wonder what happened with... I wonder what happened with Shen Yi. I think he's going to play. So I think that's completely fine. All this stuff is coming out now. I'm still on the TSM side. I'm going to stay on the TSM side. Team Liquid against Evil Geniuses. So we could talk about that. So Impact against Bwipo. I do prefer the Bwipo side. Inspired against Santorin. I heavily prefer Inspired. Bjergsen against Jojo Pyun. I think I prefer Jojo Pyun because Bjergsen is kind of a known quantity. I think that Jojo Pyun can outplay him. Just depends on the draft. Hansama and Core JJ is coming back against Danny and Vulcan. They're both two very good teams. This is a spot where I just don't think that Evil Geniuses should be this big of a dog. So I'm on EG. I just want EG to win. So I'd probably do like an EG TSM parlay for starters. Then we have FlyQuest against Dignitas. I kind of want to bet FlyQuest there too, but I mean putting three dogs into a parlay, I'm just asking for pain. FlyQuest against Dig. We talked about that one a little bit yesterday. FlyQuest, Dig, River, Jose Deodo. The amount that we're seeing Hecarim being played, it's going to be a good thing for Jose Deodo. They play Enchanters. That's another good thing for FlyQuest and Jose Deodo because it's going to be giving Hecarim more like speed ups and stuff like that, and more buffs. He can turn into a pseudo tank, which is good. Man, I think I want FlyQuest there too. And then CLG against Cloud9. CLG has looked horrible. So that's basically it for tomorrow. I guess that's a lot of projected upsets and a lot of, close matches. We're getting to the point in the season where everybody is kind of settling into the meta and what they think is strong. So we're going to see a lot of the same champions being recycled over and over again, which will give benefits to teams that are like willing to think about counters. So if you have a good opinion about teams you think are very strong drafters, I think that's going to benefit them a lot over the next couple of weeks before we get to playoffs. So again, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.